Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Fake Nerd Podcast. I am Brandon T. McClure. With me tonight, actually, we're doing this rather late tonight. With me tonight is Sparks Whitty.
Yes, I'm here. I'm back.
And Ryan Eliopoulos.
Hello. It's good to be back, as always.
We do not have a Ben Magnet this week. He is out of town. He's in Las Vegas, and we are back. We were off last week because we've decided that probably a more bi-weekly schedule for the show would do us good during the hot labor summer, as this episode is titled. But we are back to talk about many things in regards to the strikes and some comic book news. So why don't we get right into it? First, let me just ask, how are you guys? Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Good to see you, sir.
Yeah,
good to see you, sir.
Loving all the labor strikes. Love it.
Yeah,
we've been on the picket line for weeks.
Yeah, you just haven't left. You're sleeping there.
I'm sleeping there. Yeah.
I wish we could be that committed.
Yeah. I mean, we're very committed in the podcast, I think.
Yeah.
Grayson live in the chat. Hello, sir. What a bump. It's not Sunday morning. Good to see you guys tonight. Good to see you too, Grayson. I'm glad we won you in the divorce. That's a deep cut for some people. All right. Let's get into some links, though, because there are quite a few links in the description. We were gone last week, but last week was not a small week for us. So first, let me get through my CBR stuff is there, of course, but a article I put up from kaijuramenmedia.com is there, where I talk about what we've already talked about on the show, kind of just me regurgitating a lot of that, and just more news-based thing about the Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong crossover comic book coming from DC Comics later this year. Yeah, that was basically it. Just talking about that. If you want more of my kind of pure thoughts on that's linked below. Grayson, once again in the chat. I don't know if that's a win, but I'll take it as a win for me. It is a win, sir. I always liked you. All right. So speaking of Grayson and Ben Magnet, 2 episodes of D&D Dark are in the description below. They are in the middle of their what's it called? Mid-season hiatus. Nope, mid-season
finale.
Mm-hmm. All the words left me just then. Where it's a big kind of mid-season finale that they're doing 4 parts, and they've done 2 of them so far, and they're in the description below. Both of them, in my opinion, are very good. They're very fun. You guys should check them out. If you're not listening to the show at this point, probably doesn't do you much good that they're there, but if you are, they're there.
They tried so hard and they got so far, but Grayson, in the end, it didn't even matter.
And guess what? Ben's not here to spoil anything, so you can go in fresh if you haven't caught up.
Yeah,
that's
true.
Not
spoiling any of the cool stuff that happens in these last 2 episodes. Nope.
That's true. I was trying to think of a silly thing that I could spoil, but like, it's a comedy show. Like, it wouldn't really do much good. But yeah, so those are kind of the personal links in the description. We do have some show stuff. I'll start with Conversation, my latest episode of Conversation. My last episode, D&D Dark, that had its 2-week run. Thank you to the crew of D&D Dark once again for being on that show. I greatly appreciated talking to you guys, and that turned out really fun. But the newest episode is up right now, where I talked to Travis Bow from the Real Comic Heroes podcast. Now, this is a podcast that Real, REEL, much like the Real Score for our show, is a show that's going through all of the comic book movies by release date. So they're in the early 2000s now, but they started in the very early 20th century. It's a good show. Check it out. But yeah, I had a really good talk with Travis. We talked a little bit about gatekeeping, and a little bit about what I think was the most valuable topic was this idea that you kind of these like binary sides in fandom, where if you don't like such and such the same way, then you're on the opposite side, but that doesn't allow for nuance. And that's kind of like internet fandom and how that kind of perpetuates people and their interest in fandom. Very interesting topic. I hope people enjoy listening to it. I certainly enjoyed talking to him about it. And then Basement Arcade. Speaking of Grayson, once again, 2 episodes of Basement Arcade are in the description below. as we mentioned, many of our shows are on hiatus currently, so you're going to be seeing more from our video game and comic book output. So, Basement Arcade, 2 parts for Shredder's Revenge. You guys, Ben and Grayson, did that one, yes?
Yes.
We sure did. That's a full playthrough, that entire game, that incredibly long, arduous game that's like 2.5 hours long. But it's a really, really great time. We were doing that in hype for Mutant Mayhem, which is in theaters now. Please go support it. It's incredible. I didn't say that. I'm not promoting movies. I'm sorry. God, no. But a lot of the villains in that movie are in the game, so it was like a nice, like, oh, who are these guys? So it's a lot of fun.
That's very cool. I haven't watched all of it, but it looked like a lot of fun.
It was fun. Yeah.
It's a good game.
And speaking of non-struck content that we can put out, Ultimate Comics, The Ultimates, Volume 1, The Republic is Burning, by Jonathan Hickman and Asad Rivik, is our first of our new bi-weekly book club series. If you recall, we took the book club out of the main show and spun it off into the book club feed, the Victor Book Club feed, and we will be continuing our weekly rotation as a bi-weekly rotation on that show, and the first episode of which is up now that you can check out. That was a lot of fun. Really loved that book.
Yeah, I really enjoy having a little bit longer of a deep dive on a comic.
Yeah,
especially if it's a good one. They probably won't all be super hype, but not that one's like hype. You know what I mean? Just longer in depth.
They won't all be an hour and change.
Yeah.
But that was a fun one in particular because it's a lot of not just talking about that comic, but talking about just the Ultimate Universe as a whole and what our relationship to it was, and Jonathan Hickman. So,
and that will continue
in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next book is a Hickman book picked by me.
Yep.
So it's the same rotation that you're familiar with. It will just now be on its own Fiction Book Club feed. So make sure you're subscribed to that feed if you're listening to the audio. Obviously make sure you're subscribed to this channel if you're watching us on YouTube.
Grayson, real quick, thanking us for the invite on Shredder's Revenge. Grayson, it was a pleasure. Anytime, we'll game with you anytime. Grayson,
let me send you an invite right now. You can come. No, I'm kidding.
Brand's like, come to my private game.
And then that's all the links in the description. But of course, we are supporting 100% the WGA and the SAG-Aftra strikes, and those links are still in the description below. If you want to find out, if you want to learn about the strikes, if you want to learn about what they're fighting for, if you want to support and donate to these entertainment funds that are helping struggling writers and actors during these strikes to keep their houses, put food on the table, please do. Those are linked below in the description. Click on them, share them, whatever. They are there. We are in full support, as I always said, and we will be talking more about the strike a little later tonight. But
absolutely.
With that said, who wants to go first of the week? And I will finish by saying I don't have anything. So, Ryan.
I will go first because I also have nothing to report because I'm just doing the same shit I've been doing.
Sparks, do you have anything?
I will share one thing because I did engage with a television show
hold on.
not.
I gotta do the studio. I gotta do the thing. I gotta put up the thing. Yeah, there we go. Is it up? Yeah, there it is.
I don't think we'll have to reformat that.
Yeah.
This one I struggle with this one, so this is the second one.
We're workshopping.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. This is not Strike Studio. This is BBC America. So BBC really, and like I could talk about it because of that.
You down with BBC?
I finally ended the Capaldi run. I've been putting it off for a long time, so I finally ended Capaldi's run as the Doctor on Doctor Who.
Very cool.
I closed that loop in these last 2 weeks. It was a pleasure. I'm happy to have put the final pin in that Moffat era. Capaldi is such a talented doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is such a shame that we kind of set up in this modern era a 3-series rule, I guess. Like after Matt Smith did it, I think it just kind of became the standard expectation. I know he wanted to leave because Moffat was done, but I kind of wish he'd stuck around. I wish that there was a bit of a carryover into the new showrunner because I think I don't think we got the best of what he could offer. Some of that is because of like the stories that were granted to him, and some of it is just like his whole first season is kind of a wash. If I'm being honest, like there's good episodes in there, but like he didn't know what he wanted the Doctor to be. I don't think anybody necessarily did. And when you come out that first episode of his second season, he comes out so strong, so confident with this new personality to the Doctor. He really, really fills it out and makes it something special. And I just, like, I don't think we're really ever going to see Capaldi as the Doctor again. I don't think we're going to hear him in any audio adventures before, because he's an older gentleman, before he's not with us anymore. I just don't see him ever returning to the role, unfortunately. And that's such a shame because there's so much a twinkle in the eye kind of stuff going on with him that I wish we got to see really blossom.
It's really such a shame that I get the same impression that you do, Sparks, that we'll probably never see or hear him again as the Doctor. Even as the 60th anniversary is approaching, there's currently no confirmation that any Doctor is returning for the 60th anniversary outside of Tennant. And I would love to see him come back, and he's talked about how he doesn't want to return. He's like done. He's good with the Doctor. He's happy with what he did, and I would like to see him return, especially in a crossover event. See him play off the other Doctors would be a lot of fun.
I get from his perspective like the reason not to, because I feel like what I don't know if there's value there, to be honest with you, because he got so much not given to him and had to make so much of what he was working with that I don't know, like, is it a value to return to the character at this point? And how would he do it, especially in the way that his Doctor goes out, which you can speak to a little bit, Brandon, because like his Doctor, he doesn't want to regenerate, but not in the same way Tennant didn't want to regenerate. Like I like being, but like maybe I should just like go. Like it's the context that Brandon doesn't have is that before his final special where he regenerates, minor spoilers for Doctor Who, for slightly maybe for Doctor Who for anyone who hasn't watched this part, but you see the Master's final death. So we know Missy is the end of the Master. And the Doctor had kind of like in this final season come to a whole like full circle reconnection of their old friendship and like what that's meant to him and how important that would have been to him to carry on, and how important it would have been to Missy, who's playing the Master at that point, to have carried on. And in the last episode before the regeneration, a previous incarnation of the Master kills Missy in a very final way. So while there are unknown regenerations between that Master and Missy is the end of the road on this story. And the place that leaves the Doctor in of this kind of like tragic end is really like sad. and I think very poignant. And it's hard to imagine how you come back to a worthwhile story for that Doctor with the way that they went out. And I'm not hot on the middle of that last season for Capaldi, but I think the opening episodes and the last episodes are super, super strong, with really great emotional character arcs for the Doctor's companions, but also the Doctor. And I think Moffat did something really interesting where not loving everything that he did with the Doctor and really chasing a lot of those big concepts and not always nailing it. I really, and maybe you appreciate this too, Brandon, because in his final regeneration special, the Doctor's kind of been boiled down to like, what's the one thing you want to leave the universe with? And he's like constantly repeating, like, just be kind. That's all. It's his last plea to the Master and Missy is be kind. It's not hard. Just do that for the universe. Just go through and be that. And I kind of like Moffat boiling down to like, what's the one thing I can leave Doctor Who? Be kind.
The final episode that he has is the one where he teams up the first Doctor, played by I forgot the guy's name.
D. Bradley Baker.
That's not D. Bradley Baker. That is
You're right.
Bradley. It's Bradley something. Filch from Harry Potter. He kind of comes in, and he's also the whole point is that they're both at the same spot, that neither of them want to regenerate because they're like, what if I just die? Like what? Like why would I want to regenerate? Like where would that happen? And he's got and the whole time the first Doctor is being told that his future is he is the Doctor of War. He is a warrior. David Bradley, thank you. he is a warrior who has destroyed species and been the terror of the Daleks and lost so many people. And like that's what that's what the first Doctor is seeing, and because that's a negative perception of what the Doctor does.
Mhm.
And so like the whole lesson is that the first Doctor learns that like, oh, that's not that's not the case. You're not a warrior. You're a doctor. The whole idea
Yeah.
of like the Doctor of War changes its context through the
Yes,
show.
specifically, they do a really nice job, I think, of this. They tie in the story with the World War One story of when they sang Christmas carols across the trenches at each other, and it's like connected to that and his idea of being a doctor in time of war, and that's what the Doctor of War means, rather than like constantly perpetuating war upon others.
Yeah.
I think it's a really nice way to take this particular Doctor out. You were all going to say something a while back, but we kind of jumped on through. But I think it's very effective. I truly wish that he could have stuck around, but I really, really find what they did for his second season, the beginning of his third, and the end of his time, really special.
Yeah.
I don't think it got praised enough. I think a lot of people had kind of that first season, Capaldi, I think cooled a lot of people, and so I think a lot of people, the majority, bailed at that point, found their jump off point. And it's unfortunate because I think there's a lot of really special Doctor Who stuff that did happen during Capaldi's run.
Even that first season has an episode that I like, which is the Orient Express one, where the mummy is trying to kill people. I like that episode. There's a ghost episode in the second season, right? Underwater with the ghosts.
Yes.
I remember. Yeah. I like that episode too. I'm not finished with his run yet. I'm still halfway through the second season, but I hope to finish it soon.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. Why don't we get into our bread and butter?
Yum yum.
I want to be clear that I did do things. I just can't talk about any of it.
Oh yeah. I mean, we know.
Okay.
It was 2 weeks. We all did things we can't talk about.
All right. Some sad news up top. Because we have in the past 2 weeks, a lot of people passed away. A lot of big names, smaller names too. This is not a comprehensive list of all of them. This is just kind of the ones that I felt like we have something to say. So let's start with Paul Reubens, who is honestly best known as Pee Wee Herman.
Sure.
From Tim Burton's film and the show that followed it. Right, the show came after.
Show came before.
Oh, did it come before?
Yeah.
I was always confused about the timeline there, but obviously he was also Penguin's dad in both Batman Returns and Gotham.
Yep.
Cool. It was a stage show. I found out because a actor friend of mine posted after his passing that he was auditioning for a show, a stage show at the same time as Paul Reubens, and they were talking about just how their careers were going, and it was right around the time that he got the green light for Pee Wee Herman to move ahead from a stage show to a TV show.
Love it.
And I didn't know that before. There had been like a stage production of it, but he was very excited about it at the time. Apparently, it's very cool. But yeah.
So he passed away due to cancer at the age of 70, 2 weeks ago.
It's a shame.
Yeah, I was never a big fan of the movie, but I did really like the show as a kid. Like I watched that pretty religiously.
Sure.
That was a pretty influential show for me. That and Blue's Clues.
Yeah. I really loved the Pee Wee Herman movie. But something that I was really grateful to see a lot of Twitter circulate, because I agree that it's one of my favorite Paul Reubens things, is his performance as a vampire in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh yeah, the original movie
where he gets staked, and like it lives in my brain, and I didn't realize how much it was in my brain. Rent free, where he's down there and he's just kicking the door frame as he's slowly dying, and that's still, I think, the funniest vampire death I've ever seen on screen.
Hey man, that first Buffy movie, I mean, it's still a Joss Whedon product, but like, that's a good movie.
I want to say real quickly, Mint Blaze in the chat saying hello and then bye because
Bye.
Ben isn't here.
I don't blame you.
Very funny.
You know what you come here for, and we're not it.
That's fair. I don't
Gotta
blame
count.
you at all. This is obviously sad news. Margolis also. I think probably our audience specifically would know his best role from Breaking Bad. But he's been an actor in many things, including Scarface. He had a short illness, but was an undisclosed illness. We don't know of what kind, and he passed away at the age of 83.
I'm laughing at Mint, not at this gentleman who passed away.
Of course.
Yeah, I only know him from Breaking Bad, but that is I would say an iconic role. I'm sure he's done lots of lovely things. But like, man, that image of him ringing that bell at the end of Breaking Bad in front of Gustavo Fring is like, that is truly like, I think about that all the time. That's like some crazy shit. Great performer. It's a shame.
Yeah, I really like Ryan. Like, I really love his scenes in Breaking Bad. That final scene is freaking iconic. All right.
I did want to. I remembered it. I was double checking before we moved on. I did want to highlight what I think Ben would bring up if he were here about Paul Rubens, which is that he's also the original voice of the pilot for Star Tours in Disneyland.
Oh, right. That's right.
You're
That's
right.
right.
I completely forgot. Rex?
He's in
Yeah,
the cantina now, right?
No, he's in the cantina. Yeah.
Yeah. Living life as he deserves.
Yeah. William Friedkin, the
Oh.
director of The Exorcist and The French Connection, among others,
Oh,
passed
yes.
away due to heart failure and pneumonia at the age of 87.
Yeah, what a career.
This dude is the funniest man alive because he will shit talk anybody and everybody at any time. There's so many incredible interviews. He's a filmmaker's filmmaker. He's a hardcore, like, dude. That dude made movies. I remember seeing his movie Bug in the mid 2000s when I was a teenager, and that movie is so intense. And that is just about two people locked in a room and it's all about paranoia. It's Michael Shannon. It's incredible. And then, like, you know, The Exorcist, and there's a movie called Sorcerer, which is incredible. But that dude was just so real, and so many commentaries, like so much stuff is coming out now of just like, yo, this dude loved movies and he hated people who were dipshits. And we both like Nicholas Winding Refn, but there's a great interview with him where he's like, people don't talk about Drive, and Nicholas is like, they'll talk about Drive in a couple of years, because it's a classic. Like, people don't know what a classic is until 30 years from now. A Drive is a wet fart in terms of cinema. And I'm just like, man, you were really funny. You were bringing these like kind of like prestigious people a little down, and it's like, it's just kind of funny. He's like this old school, just like, just make movies, shut up. I really appreciate it. It's a shame that he passed. But man, again, how old was he? In his 80s? That's
87.
87. That's still
It has a movie coming out, I think, this year.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And he Exorcist Believer also is coming out this year, which is wild.
He probably got a sweet check from that.
Oh yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've only seen The Exorcist and French Connection of his. I went through his filmography, and those are the only two I've ever seen. I wasn't crazy about. I don't like French Connection when I watched it. I watched it when I was like 10, so like maybe I
don't know.
I think
any 10-year-old.
I think you'd have a different opinion today.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
Exorcist still to this day scares the crap out of me. So
I recently, because of the new trailer for the new one, homages, not to promote Struck Studio content or anything, but the new trailer harkens back to the original trailer for The Exorcist. And I was talking with Jeremy recently, and I showed him the original trailer because he'd never watched it. And I'm like, I mean, I understand how people like go into The Exorcist thinking it's going to be the scariest movie of all time, because that trailer is probably one of the most frightening things I ever saw on a movie theater screen. Because that trailer, if you don't remember or haven't watched it, is disturbing as hell. And that was definitely Friedkin's like wanting to push. Like, what is the initial idea I want everybody to have? There's a man who shows up to help, and also I want them to go home and see the flashes of these black and white horrifying images until the end of the night. Like, I just want them to not be able to blink and not think about these things.
The Exorcist,
truly one of the most like unhinged, horrifying trailers I've ever seen.
Absolutely, The
To this
Exorcist is one of the greatest, not just horror movies, but one of the greatest movies of all time. And if he only made The Exorcist and then made nothing but shit the rest of his life, he would still be golden from just The Exorcist. But then he continued to make great movies the rest of his life. And I'm just like, man, you can only live to have that kind of legacy. It's incredible.
Yeah. Robbie Robertson, who's the composer of the upcoming Killers of the Flower Moon, also has worked with Scorsese on Raging Bull and The Irishman, as well many Scorsese movies. Yeah. He is also the lead guitarist and songwriter for a band called The Band, which is a Canadian rock band. He passed away due to prostate cancer at the age of 80.
Dude, prostate cancer, cancer sucks, but I feel like we hear that one so often, man. Like, Jesus.
Prostate cancer will get you.
Yeah, like
it's sneaky.
People who have seen Killers of the Flower Moon saying that like this is like the best score he's ever done, and it feels like a culmination of everything he's ever done for like this specific type of score with like the what the movie's about.
And you hope you have that before you go out.
Exactly, and I'm just like, man, it's like he almost made it to see like that movie come out. Like it's out, like for everyone to see. But yeah, long legacy. Because to be a film composer and to be also just like a dope like musician in a band, it's just like how cool can you be? Like I make movies and I make like music for regular people. Like it's like that's really cool. Like rest in peace.
Yeah, I really like his music, especially in Raging Bull. I like that movie quite a bit. Real quickly, I just remembered I should look up William Friedkin's next movie is called The Kane Mutiny Court Martial, which is coming out supposedly this year.
Okay.
So yeah, with Kiefer Sutherland and Jason Clarke. Nice.
Okay.
Robbie Robertson. So now finally we'll talk about Johnny Hardwick, whose most famous role as Dale from King of the Hill, voice actor. He was obviously coming back for the upcoming reboot, and he had not finished recording his lines, but he passed away at the age of 64. And as of the time of this recording, no cause of death has been given.
Yeah, that's awful. It's like some other actors. I'm only familiar with him as Dale. I'm sure he's probably done other work, but like
not
Dale...
much. I looked. It's not much.
Okay, sure. Dale is still like an iconic character. Like I was obsessed. Like Mike Judge, from the creator of King of the Hill and Idiocracy and Beavis and Butthead, like that era for me when I was a kid, I was like obsessed with that guy. I thought he was like a genius for real. So like I'm not super excited because like I don't need everything to come back, but like the fact that everyone was coming back, like I love that cast so much. That is, especially going up in Texas, having like a Southern show that makes fun of Southern people but is not mean to them in a way. Like I just really appreciated that. So like that's a shame. Like that Dale is such a silly, ridiculous character. That's a bummer.
Yeah, that's a real blow. I know everyone's really feeling that one. I don't think we're prepared for how many of our like iconic voice actors we're going to be losing over like the next decade because they were much older than we thought they were based on their voices.
That's true.
Like most of the Rugrats, for example, are much closer to the end than you'd think.
Oh yeah.
Sure. I mean, we kind of had that thought when Kevin Conroy passed away. That we're coming up on this time where so many of these beloved voice actors were playing teenagers and they're like in their 70s now.
Scooby-Doo crew, yeah.
Right, and they were and like a good chunk of them were playing teenagers when they were like in their 40s and we just didn't know it because that's how good they were.
Yeah.
And so we're not prepared for like, oh, it's gonna like happen.
Ryan was absolutely right. Like Fred Jones has been voiced by Frank Welker since the first show, and he's still doing it.
Right.
That dude's voice, like you could definitely tell that he's old now, but like that dude still got.
But it still works.
It still works, and he does like robot voices and like rah, rah, rah. I'm like really talented dude.
His Megatron is iconic, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, he's Fred Jones and Scooby Doo, I believe. Winnie the Pooh and Tigger. Man, when he goes, that's gonna suck.
Oh yeah.
How many characters he played?
That's Jim Cummings.
Jim Cummings.
Oh, Jim Cummings. Frank Welker.
But that's that's another one though.
Jim Cummings is an older person.
Yeah. Jim Cummings is getting up there too.
Oh yeah, Frank Welker. 'Cause I was thinking of Jim Cummings when I thought that Frank Welker. Doesn't matter. There was a movie I connected the wrong character to. Anyway, but yeah, iconic character. You know, iconic voice actor. All right.
Yeah.
That's all the passings aways. So let's move into the WGA SAG-Aftra strike update that we do every show.
At this point, I feel like we need to build a little intro for like strike update. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun.
Like a tube.
Yeah.
Sparks, if you want to make that, get Jeremy on the music.
Over the week. I got time.
I'll think on it.
All right, but let's talk about the strike because South Korea is going on strike. They're not, but they could.
Hell yeah, South Korea.
So South Korea has been. How do I want to put this? How do I want to say this the meanest way possible?
Given the shit end of the stick.
Given the shit end of the stick is probably the meaner way that exploited. By Netflix for a very long time. Their quote unquote animes come out of South Korea. With some of their biggest shows come out of South Korea. And
movies.
And movies. And South Korea's not happy.
No,
or should they be? Now, this news is just about the quote Korea's Actors Union. Actors Union, which is the name of their SAG.
Sure.
They have been trying to meet with Netflix for a while because they're kind of tired of being exploited, as they should be. Someone said that their base rate is $300 an episode. Can you imagine Squid Game getting only $300 an episode?
Well, we know that
Horrifying.
dude got screwed over a little bit.
That's a great example because that dude 100% got screwed over.
Yeah.
And he's making a second season, so hopefully it'll balance out still.
Hopefully.
But he'll also have to fight his own fight for that kind of stuff because this is just the actors right now.
Yeah.
Right. And he won't. The guy who created Squid Game won't get any residuals from that Squid Game reality TV show that Netflix is making.
Yep. Yeah. Probably. Yeah.
Ridiculous. Not probably. Like he signed over the IP. It's not happening.
Yeah.
No, he won't get anything. It's garbage.
Really sucks.
But also, F that reality show.
Yeah, seriously. So anyway, so the South Korea's South Korea's Actors Union has been trying to get a hold of Netflix. Netflix is not talking. They're not going to the table. They're not responding.
It's going to voicemail.
It's going to voicemail. They're not answering the calls. They're ghosting them. And
Jesus.
the South Korean and the union, the president of the union is rightfully pissed off and is threatening a strike.
Good.
Yeah, they should.
If you look at Netflix, they produce so much stuff, and a lot of it does come from South Korea, and a lot of it is really good. I especially a couple years ago during the pandemic, I binged a bunch of stuff.
Of my favorite
was
that South Korea feudal zombie
show?
show?
That's a great one. There's that one. Yeah. There's the Silent Sea, which is about the moon. There's the Kingdom, which is about zombies in the medieval times. Dude, so many great shows.
We did that space movie. From South Korea.
That's the yes. There's a lot of good ones that I wish I remembered all the names. But the point is exactly that they're producing so much shit for Netflix, and a lot of them are hitting the number one spot. And if they're getting literally no money for it, then hell yeah, please strike. Let Netflix dry up. Let them dry up.
They will too. That's the thing is Netflix will the way that this will probably end, because I do believe the actors and the writers are going to win their strikes here, is that Netflix will be forced to pay back residuals. And if they have to do that on all the American productions and the South Korean productions, Netflix is pretty much sunk. I don't see how they financially
aren't they already in debt too?
Yes.
So
they're perpetually in debt.
Yeah, I don't see how they become a profitable organization anymore. Netflix has the most to lose, frankly, in the strikes, because this is all about a lot of what the strikes are about. Not all of what it's about, but a lot of what it's about is the exploitation of the streaming service model and what it could do. And Netflix is the one that they have nothing else. And if it dies, it dies.
Netflix should have stayed a library, not a content creator.
Well, that's and that's not entirely fair, because there's a lot of incredible stuff that's gotten made that wouldn't have gotten made without
that's fair.
But there were better ways to have done it, to have avoided going this route.
There's a new show every single day at this point. It's just they are producing beyond what any studio should be capable of, and that's why a lot of their stuff does turn out to be shit. And when you do get something really good, nobody sees it because there's a million choices. I think they should have just like it's a problem of exponential growth that we always talk about. But like Netflix had a really good thing. Like again, I talk about like I just had a conversation on I think on Twitter or somewhere like it's give it to you about Stranger Things, that whole era, and House of Cards, and there was a lot of incredible original stuff happening on Netflix. But then over time, they just got way too greedy and like, oh, we need to do a new one every single week.
To be honest, and to put the point back on South Korea, like it's unfortunate that the reason why this happened is because they could exploit, is because that they could lowball.
Yeah.
But like I'm glad I get to watch South Korean content I wouldn't have gotten to otherwise. Like I'm really glad that there was something that did that, and I do fear the vacuum for international that could exist when things like Netflix go away, because I do think that's valuable, that there needs to be a space for more connectivity on that, because watching South Korean material has been really engaging and also helps get rid of xenophobia. So like it's nice to have those things. It's just unfortunate that the motivating factor was, well, because we can pay them less.
Yeah.
It really is like, you know, in these past 2 weeks, Dropout and Sam Reich haven't, you know, said that they can go back into production, and the whole reason is because like they've had their long talks with SAG-Aftra, and they've talked about doing exactly what they want and what they need to do for keeping themselves going forward, but they're in full support of everything they're doing. And they've long been regarded as a place that like properly compensates the artists for what they create.
Mm-hmm.
And if Netflix had been a place that had been like that, they could have come out way the other end of this fight. Yeah. But that would have been like a decision made decades ago.
Yeah.
Netflix came out at a time. Netflix came out with the we're the creator first studio. You can come here and make whatever you want, and we'll give you the money, and we'll wait, and we'll we'll give you time to let the audience find you. But as more and more people chase that streaming model, and I'll say it meanly, that streaming what's the word, that they were this idea of infinite growth forever, which is impossible, which we keep talking about. And then it became, when all the other jobs, all the network jobs started drying up because of that, you know, Netflix was kind of like, okay, well, I get my paycheck from NCIS for decades from now on, but I can go over here and make something really cool with Netflix for like 8 episodes, and I'm done for a year. But now you don't even get that, because most things die on the vine. They don't pay residuals, and they barely pay you anything anymore, because they're releasing so much stuff that nobody can find any of it anymore. As Ryan said, there's just so much stuff that you just can't get to it in time before it's already canceled.
Well, and part of the problem with like that con model, right, is like even with some of the South Korean projects, but just like the American-based ones in general, is that it becomes that exact thing that you're saying, which is like go seek people out and be like, yeah, we'll make your thing. We'll make your thing for a pretty reasonable amount of money that we will put into making the project, which means you get paid less on the front end and the back end, but we're helping to fund it. Yeah. And it's because what they do is they roll the dice on every single one of those projects, and the ones that hit, guess what? They own all the IP for it.
Yeah.
So they benefit in the long run, and they're like, we can take 6 losses if it means we get 1 Stranger Things.
Yep.
And that's just awful.
But now you have no Stranger Things.
Yeah.
I have none. And soon you won't have any South Korean content.
Hopefully. Yeah. I hope that, you know what? Good for them. Glad they're also taking the opportunity to fight for what they are owed.
As Spark can see, I have like all the various streaming services, but I don't know, because I don't use all of them enough to know how much foreign content is showing up on Apple or on Hulu and so that. So like,
and it depends where you live.
Yeah,
is part of the thing. Because everywhere outside of the United States, Hulu has baked into it like the One Star, which is like an international, so there's a ton of like Indian programming and all these other kind of stuff that's tied in. So it's all about where you're regionally based for what those, but like they get the kickback of it and get to promote and put out a whole lot of that. So like Hulu internationally and Hulu here are not the same thing.
That's fair, yeah. Because Netflix, so real quick, I think Netflix does have, again, I have not vastly checked all the libraries, but like Netflix does have the biggest selection of foreign movies and TV shows.
Amongst the major ones.
So like Netflix is still incredibly valuable for that reason alone. But like if I don't need Netflix, if I can go to these other streaming services to watch RRR, to watch like the new cool like Indian show that's out or whatever, like I'll watch it there. But like Netflix has the monopoly on all of that, it seems like.
So Max would be the runner-up because they have Criterion. And through Criterion, they have a lot of classic foreign films.
That's
Yeah,
great.
but
That's great.
but what we're looking at is like the international market of like a lot of the television shows that
Right.
currently made modern films, which I would actually say is probably like between the Disney Plus Hulu thing, because like you go to your Disney Plus now, there are international releases that are
Sure.
appearing on there. There are some that they've been able to purchase and put out and all that kind of stuff. But I do think long term, the best thing is, if the streaming service model were to continue, probably the best thing to be on streaming services is international things, but where they are still operated and given to us via the studios that create them. Like I would pay good money for, I would pay like a good like $6 to $9 a month for the South Korean streaming service.
Yeah.
That gives me all of
Sure.
that wonderful content, and I know that money goes directly to them, not built into the big Hollywood machine, but they're actually a factor in the entertainment field, which boy does Hollywood not want.
Right.
Yeah.
Grayson has a great idea here. New plan: South Korea leaves Netflix and joins FNP and provides content here but advertises FNP as the premier
Joins
pop culture
us.
podcast. Yes, joins us. South Korea, we don't have the money for that.
We would have to learn Korean really quick.
Yo, I would. Absolutely.
I'd love to own the next Parasite. You kidding me?
Yeah, sure.
Parasite 2,
even more
parasitering.
capitalism. We'll say the
More-
same job. So good.
All right. Another potential strike that could be happening, which is very exciting for me, is that the VFX workers, specifically on-set VFX workers, so people who like help with the VFX stuff on set specifically with Marvel Studios, have voted to unionize. About 50 people. I think the actual count is like 54. So around 50 people have voted to unionize. Should this work, they will be part of IATSE, which is the Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, which basically is the umbrella union for all of the quote-unquote below-the-line workers.
Mhm.
There's a bunch of other unions within IATSE that control different aspects of the quote-unquote below-the-line workers, and VFX would just be another branch of IATSE. Now, this is not... Real quick, this does not mean that immediately all the VFX houses, Rhythm and Hughes is gone. ILM and all those things will become a union right away. But this is a big first step because this is Marvel Studios, who have been constantly quote unquote bullying the visual effects houses for years now. So this is huge.
Yeah, massive. Huge deal. And you're exactly right. Like the visual effects, that all like they will have to independently vote to unionize because they're all like their own separate branches and have to do it. But it's a very motivating factor if they can get it. And I really hope they do, because all visual effects artists and all animators should be unionized. This industry just doesn't treat you the way you should be unless you are in a union.
Keep the ball rolling. Keep the strikes rolling.
This country doesn't. Let's be honest.
You reminded me earlier today that we talked a little bit about the Warner Brothers animation division voting to unionize also, and they have not yet joined TAG because I think how it is the company has to recognize the union. Is that how it goes next?
They do, and so like there's the thing is that like they're not legally allowed to say no.
Right.
The thing is that there are delaying tactics, and the delay tactics can kind of wean out over a very long period of time.
Filibuster.
And drive, yes, very much filibustering. This happens in the video game industry too. This has been a big problem when Activision was trying to have unionization inside of it last year. And they essentially can drag it out and drag it to the table constantly to, like, it's a union busting tactic to make it almost impossible for them to get it ratified without legally saying no, because they can't. And that seems to be the tactic, especially right now, that both notably Walt Disney's, is doing as well with the Disney animation, has also made the same vote, and the vote has been huge. And so like I believe at a certain point, like part of the way it works is like once they hit a certain number, and I think the number scales according to like what the branch is or anything like that, then it gets to go up to like a department head, where it says like this has become a regular problem where they're not acknowledging it, and then like again conversations start happening at a table, but there are delay tactics within it. So it's a hard fight, but that doesn't mean it's not a worthwhile fight. They want to convince you that the fight is too difficult, so you give up.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can't win it.
Right. And that's what we're seeing with these current WGA and SAG-Aftra strikes. So as Sparks said, that's basically what these VFX workers will face going forward in the next couple of months. This won't happen immediately, but by God, it is about time. We have all been saying that the VFX workers need that protection of unionization because they do not get overtime pay. They're working 18 hours a day to get these shots done, and the entire industry has become so reliant on visual effects that there's no reason why these visual effects houses should be going out of business because they cannot get their money. Rhythm and Hues, which I mentioned up top, Rhythm and Hues, who did the VFX for The Life of Pi won an Oscar for its visual effects. Rhythm and Hues went out of business the week before.
Yeah.
That is not right.
Yeah, it's very much just the industry in general has not, like, while their increasing reliance on visual effects has scaled up dramatically, the amount of recognition has not, and that has been a big problem. And so it is something they're going to have to fight for. These studios aren't going to come to the table and start the process of talking with them while they're still in the midst of these strikes. It's just not going to happen. So they're in it for a long fight because they essentially have to keep up their morale and say, like, yes, we are in this, we want this, just like what they're able to do with the WGA strike and the SAG-Aftra strikes. Like, we want that power. We want the power to be activism for ourselves. And they're not going to get to have that conversation and get to the table with it very likely until these strikes are done. So they have to keep that morale up. They have to keep confident about it. They have to keep banging the drum the whole time through. So it's really tough for them, but I hope they make it. All of them.
100% agree. Once again, links in the description where you can support these strikes. By the way, IGN put out a great article talking to these workers, these VFX workers who have voted to unionize. Great article about what they're facing, about what the challenges they're facing, what they're trying to change. Incredible. Read it. It's linked below.
I'm pretty sure that the Warner Brothers and Cartoon Network Studios Adult Swim stuff, that they have a petition for you to sign. I know the Walt Disney Animation has a petition for you to sign. Maybe after this recording at some point, Brandon and I will find those and put those links down below as well, because they have petitions out there and they need more people signing those. And I don't think I saw that the visual effects workers have one, but if they do, by God, we do need to go sign it.
Yes. As you guys said, the movie industry, the film industry does not treat you right unless you're part of a union. That is just the blatant facts of it. That's what I see people online all the time. Why are these unions important? The union is 100-year-old thing when people are working in sweatshops. The film industry will abuse you and chew you up and spit you out without the protection of a union. These unions are very important around the country for every business, for every industry. And right now the fight here is just as important as anywhere else.
Yes, let's be honest. Like, all the unions in the entire country across the board are very important and very good, except police unions. Those are the only ones. We don't support police unions, but outside of that, all the unions are good. Unionization is always a good thing unless it's a cop union.
There you go. My bad. I keep forgetting. That's a union.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I didn't know that until today.
Pretty much every time a cop gets out of having killed someone while on the job, it's because they have police union stuff going on that's protecting them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
So a couple of earnings calls happened this week.
Ooh.
Disney and Paramount specifically. I think Paramount said something interesting. The CEO of Paramount was like, we just have free cash flow for the rest of 2023, which I don't understand what that means. I'll be honest. That's a business term that's above me. But Zaslav said something really stupid.
Oh, what's new?
He says, Warner Brothers Discovery on their earnings call bragged about saving more than $100 million during the strikes.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because he doesn't have to pay the writers or the actors, he's saving money.
Listen, he's got to flip it any way he can.
It's a bold tactic, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for him.
Because, and then afterwards he goes, but we're committed to making a deal. It's like, So you're
they-
negging us.
Yeah, Iger said much the same. I know it's in here, but like at another point, Iger said much the same thing for that particular part of like, I'm committed to finding a way. And it's like, if you were committed to finding a way, the way would be found, my guy. Like, it's not unclear how to solve this problem. And it hasn't been the whole time.
Yeah, we're over day 100 now of the writer's strike. Actors is more recent, but like, are you really?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, there's all these rumors that like the big streaming services of Amazon Prime, Netflix, and there's a third one I forgot, are the ones that are Apple TV Plus, are the ones that are holding out the negotiations. They're the ones saying, no, don't go back to the table. And the big studios, there's a narrative out there about this. And if that were true, then the studios would just say, F those guys. We'll make our own deal. Because it is entirely possible to break off from the AMPTP.
You can't pretend like these two at the head of these companies are not the billionaires that they are. They have the power. If they want to, they can go make the deal without the rest of the AMPTP. They are choosing not to.
Oh my God, yes. Speaking of the AMPTP, I have to bring this up because you will eventually listen to it, but you will never listen to it.
No, I sent it to him.
Oh, you sent it to him.
I know what you're about to bring up.
Yeah.
I listened to it.
In the Sherman Oaks Galleria in Los Angeles, California.
This is the remap radio episode I sent you with Adam Conner.
Oh yes,
yes. You can visit the AMPTP there themselves. So they have a little office. You can get PF Chang's. You can't see a movie.
Adam,
you can visit the AMPT in their lawyer's office.
Adam Conover explained exactly how like goofy where the AMPTP is, and exactly what it's like going to visit that office.
That is insane.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you have to remember that they're
just lawyers.
They're just these lawyers, and their job is just to say no. As Adam Conover breaks down in the episode, he's like, all they do is say no, and they just say no until you've rattled it enough that they have to go to Daddy Iger or Daddy Zaslav or whoever and be like, they won't accept it, they just won't, and then it becomes their problem. But they exist just for it never to be their problem.
And then they'll move on to some cake factory incident or something.
They're in the they're in the Sherman Oaks Galleria. That's where evil sits.
Right. So last Friday, this was a Friday ago, not this one that just passed, the one before it. The WGA got word that the AMPTP was willing to go back to the negotiating table once again. And I am bringing this up because this context is very important because this is really messed up. They were like, come back to the negotiating table. Everyone's really excited. Here we go. The WGA committed to the strike, like Ryan said, at the time going in on 100 days. Now past 100 days. And the AMPTP said, we're going to do a media blackout. But the kicker was, there was no new deal. They said the DGA deal is going to be the one that's going to be that's the one that everyone's going to get. The one that we made with the DGA.
Yeah. That's the one size fits all we want to apply.
Right. And it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for the DGA. It's not enough for the writers because it doesn't also address other writers' issues.
Yes.
So they had this. So the AMPTP, bottom line, what I'm trying to get at, the AMPTP did this because they wanted to turn the narrative that the WGA is being unreasonable in their demands. The AMPTP came back with something and the WGA said no, but no one would have found that out if the AMPTP had adhered to their media blackout that they promised. Which the WGA fought back at, strike continued.
Right.
This past Friday, the AMPTP apparently came back to the WGA with a legitimate offer. I say that because the WGA is going to adhere to the media blackout that was agreed to, and they're going to look over the offer, discuss it, and come back to the table, which is positive news at this point.
It's a first step.
Yeah.
It's a first step. There will be time. Obviously, they got to look over the proposal. If it's not enough, they got to come back with another one. The strikes will continue throughout these times. So but a first step to maybe seeing the end to the writer's strike.
I imagine just because of how long they've held out at this point, the studios are going to try to piecemeal for as long as possible. Mm-hmm. So we're probably in for a bit of a long haul. A lot of people inside the WGA have been saying the same without necessarily looking at the proposal. Just like they're going to try and give us as little as possible. Mm-hmm. And there are certain things that we know for a fact they're like, we are not saying yes unless we get these things.
Right.
And so it's probably going to be a bit. we're in for a fight. They're in for a fight.
Yeah.
We're
There was a
here.
lot
We're
of
here
talk-
to support.
There was a lot of talk about AI this past 2 weeks, specifically that Disney and Warner Brothers have set up task force to find out how AI can cut costs. I think Warner Brothers Discovery hired a bunch of AI people, like a massive salary, that everyone pointed out as like, hey, you could have paid your writers with that.
It was it was specifically they hired this lady to be like their AI like coordinator, and it was like a $900,000 salary.
Yeah.
And then like the next day she changed the title of it so it didn't seem so AI focused.
Jesus.
Did she change it to the salary? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So yeah, so there's as we've mentioned before, some of the big things that these are AI protections, or residuals. Residuals is a big fight for these, especially with these streaming services. We are coming to the end of the streaming era as we know it. Its future is going to look drastically different from here on out. This strike might hasten that, might slow it. Who knows? But like the idea that it's going to stay this way, especially as what the streaming services move to, which are these fast channels like Freevee or Tubi. It looks very likely that all these services will go to that model, and obviously many of them, all of them, I think at this point, have ad tiers. Look, you're getting revenue from these things now. You got to pay your residuals. This is just TV.
It's so funny that we are just circling back around the cable, but it's digital. It's really funny.
Which is what we always knew it was going to be.
Like, it's just like it's funny to see how quickly and how popular like Freevee, which is something I never really heard of until like Jury Duty, and I watched Jury Duty, which is a legitimately incredible show, and I'm like, now literally every service, free or cost money, has great stuff on it. So I'm just like, I don't know how does anyone gonna win these days? It's impossible, man. It's crazy. Freevee has a good show on it. Give me a break.
I almost put this in the Freevee is, by the way, owned by Amazon.
Oh,
yeah, it used to be called IMDb TV.
Yeah, this is a much better name.
What was I saying? Oh shoot, it's gone.
I don't know.
You almost put this in the news.
Oh, I almost put this in the news. That NASA is launching a streaming service that's free.
Is it about space?
Yeah, it's about space.
Well, I hope so. I'd see that. If it's just like, hey, here's the ISS right now. Look at the International Space Station. I'm like, I'll put that on for a minute. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's free. There's no ads. It's called NASA Plus.
That's cute. And it's free. I mean, NASA has a YouTube channel that's on 24 hours a day that is just like, yo, look at the Earth. How cool is the Earth? And I'm like, you're right, man.
You're
right.
so right.
Look at it's not flat. It's definitely round.
On the note of AI, I do think it's funny that the report came out this week about the potential for the Chat GPT to go to bankrupt within a year.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Sure.
It's losing a lot of money.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, this is just what we said. Like all the AI stuff, like AI can be these very sophisticated tools. They could even eventually absolutely get to the point where they could end up replacing people's jobs because they can get that sophisticated. Sure, down the line, but they're all this hustle and bustle because like Midjourney and ChatGPT took off in such a big way this year that all these studio heads who don't know shit about are looking at it and like, oh, it's the new hot thing. It can absolutely do all this, and it's like it's not. It's a con. It's a technology con.
These are the same people that invest in the cryptocurrency and all that, and like and NFTs. Like these are they're tech people who don't get art, and eventually bites them in the ass.
That's a really good point. Like it's the idea of, I'll bring up Corridor Crew with their quote unquote anime show that they did, movie short that they did, where they're democratizing art. Like art was never meant to be replaced by AI. That was everyone else's job. Art is the one thing that's intrinsically human that we should be protecting as a human endeavor, something with soul and something with heart, something that a computer could never have. And Sparks is absolutely correct. Like they fell for this grift, which is the word I was trying to look for a little later. And the OpenAI thing going bankrupt soon came only days after an article that was like some site was looking into how to make OpenAI journalists.
Right.
Like these are not the places that this technology is supposed to be in.
All of these absolute morons inside the studio industry and also outside of it, like in journalism, things like that. at the top who think, oh, we can like cut jobs this way. They buy into the bullshit of the fear, and it's not real. These things can't functionally replace these jobs, and like they're going to eat crow on the back end of it because they're going to have to pay through the nose and do the things that the people ask for, and now put into the contracts. It's actually great that it came about this way in some ways, because like AI wasn't far enough along.
It's true
that it could actually do this. It's actually too far behind. So now what they have to do is they're going to have to put in their stupid contracts, we can't use AI. Well, not in that way. We can use AI in limited amounts as a tool to benefit the artists that are creating something, but it cannot functionally replace artists. And they're going to have to do that because it doesn't exist.
And this is so interesting too, because we're at this point where AI is what streaming was for the 07-08 writer strike, where the Writers Guild said to the AMPTP, hey, you're going to start making streaming shows. We need to make sure that there's protections for us in here. And they said, no, we're not. We're not going to make streaming shows. We promise. Now everything is streaming. Now they're getting screwed over. AI, the WGA was right, like to say, like, just make sure that our job is protected from this thing, because you're stupid enough to replace us with it.
Right. You're stupid enough to try anyway.
Yeah.
And it would never work. Like, it's not what people want. Like, functionally, on a grand scale, it's not what people want. Don't believe like the hype that like other channels or Twitter users or whatever will put behind it. People don't really want that. They don't want it. It's all fake. It's all just lies.
It is like, there are those Wes Anderson AI videos, and like those are fun. Those are, hey, what if Star Wars was like Wes Anderson, and it's like everything's symmetrical and colorful, and like those are fun. That's a fun experiment.
Would you ever pay to see it?
I'm absolutely not.
Right.
Because that's the thing. Like, again, AI is not to a point where if you watch literally any of these fake trailers, there's never any motion. It's all just people standing still, because AI can't actually replicate video stuff yet. At least not well. Again, that's what those corridor guys are trying to do. Not super well, because I think that style looks really not good. I've watched both those episodes, and like, I see what they're trying to do, but like, make it like at least look good first, bros.
I just don't like how arrogant they are about it. Like, oh, we're trying to change animation. We're trying to democratize art. It's like, stop.
I'll tell you what, like,
fun.
Having watched both those videos, the second video, I don't expect you guys to watch it, but that second video, they really go into why they think this is cool and everything that's there that people are fighting against. And in the second video specifically, they hired an artist to make their own art style so they could replicate it into the video form. So they're not stealing from people's art; they are creating their own art style. They really tried their best to make it not as shitty as it is, but it's still kind of shitty. And there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do to fix what they're doing.
I did watch the second video.
Okay, which is what I think they're trying something.
I agree, but what I meant by the arrogant line was from the second video, because he has this moment like, let me tell you why that thing happened, and why, and basically the end of the thing is like, yeah, we know that it was controversial, but we think it's really cool, so we don't really care.
Oh no, yeah. No, I agree.
That's where I was like, I don't care that you want to do these AI tools. AI tools are very important to visual effects artists, and they can really help. And like, you're doing something fun that can be cool about it. I don't like how arrogant you are about it, because that's where I'm seeing with like the studios are like, well, AI can do this. Absolutely. AI can do this better.
Idling your video. Did we just change animation again? That's where I'm like, y'all, give me a break.
There is a big difference between the idea of AI functioning in the same way as like a jackhammer is better than using a pickaxe to pull up the concrete on the street.
Yes.
Like, AI tools can do that to help a person do the job more efficiently, better, and in a way where their creativity can blossom more through it, because they're not going through menial steps anymore. But that's entirely,
we can make stickers.
But that's entirely that's insane.
Yeah.
That's entirely different than the functional replacement of people's jobs.
Absolutely.
And like, it always will be. That will never change. And like, I just don't think that I honestly just don't think people as a whole are as cynical and callous as the studio heads are, and that they're not going to want it.
People appreciate art.
I mean, you're absolutely correct, because like, look at like the biggest box office hits are non-cynical. Oppenheimer's not that cynical. But like, our non-cynical blockbusters are billion-dollar hits. The audience are clearly not as cynical as studios thought they were, or as even I thought they were, honestly. And you look at like the visceral reaction to The Flash, like the Jay Garrick might be an AI generated Jay Garrick at the end of that film. and the visceral hatred that got. Clearly, audiences don't want to see that.
Yeah. And then it ends up being just like the special effects guy or something. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing with the Big Flash movie?
Yeah.
Right.
Grayson, to your point, Grayson's asking, do you think AI could be used to assist, like a pitching machine could be used? I don't know. I'm pretty against it, but I'm attempting to look at it another way.
He said it already.
It's all about the idea of, like, again, I do video editing, and it's what I do for my job. And at my job, we have a couple of things that I use AI created tools in order to turn an extra 3 hours of work into 28 minutes of work. And then I spend the rest of those hours able to fine tune and work around and be more creative with the back end, because the things that are like this, creating a certain piece of a song on a loop, I no longer have to go in necessarily on my own and loop the sections. I pick the pieces I like, and an AI tool can now put them together and make it so it sounds seamless.
Yeah.
And like, it saves me 20 extra minutes. That 20 extra minutes allows me to be more flexible with what I'm doing with the rest of it, instead of and able to meet deadlines more easily. So there's a use for it. There's a way to use it right, but the idea is not a functional full replacement.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. Ryan, you were trying to say something. Do you remember?
No, I'm just gonna continue what he's saying. Just like AI is used in so much stuff, and we don't think about it because it's not ever replacing something. It's just making something easier to use.
Yeah.
And that's I love AI for that reason. And like, StreamYard uses AI. It's for audio compression and echo canceling and all this different stuff. So like we use it in everyday lives. Our phone has used so much AI. So like it's just like to the point where like stop replacing people. That's the problem that we keep running into.
The tough part is that, like, there's no clean way in the verbiage yet to differentiate between the AI that the studios are chasing that we don't want, and the AI that is a functionally useful tool that we are totally okay with.
Yeah.
AI is becoming a catch-all for like a good or a bad thing depending on where you land on. It's more nuanced than that. There are AI tools that are useful. There are AI bullshit tech gimmicks that are designed to be sold to people who have a lot of money, saying this can functionally replace this for you.
You know what really sucks though is companies like Adobe who do use great AI tools to help with Photoshop and like video editing. They also are implementing AI generation stuff, so you can use all that stuff in their software. And I'm like, now they themselves are making it extremely hard to separate it.
Yes.
And that's a weird future we'll have to fight.
It's Sorry, real quick. The reality, to answer your question, Grayson, is that one of the important things is that, frankly, we as a world, but more specifically as a nation, are not equipped to actually enact the laws upon AI that we need to, because we're still behind on the internet. And we haven't legally traversed exactly how we need to create functional protections around that. And so we need to get the internet handled, but we also need now to get AI handled. And that's where it really comes into play, is that people have to be willing to get ahead of the game. They're probably going to be 10 years too late. Not to say that we're screwed, but to say that a lot of bad and dumb shit is going to happen amongst companies until legal action is actually taken to say, this is not okay.
It's too far.
It's the same as like what's happening with the streaming services and residuals, is that it had to get to a point where it had to be put down on paper, hey, this shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
I don't remember if you put it in this news or anything, but on a similar point, like, the people who are representatives of the WGA have been meeting with the FTC to talk about the fact that mergers are bad. In light of like all the rumors going around about Disney selling things off to Apple, there are people specifically talking about how their careers were affected by Discovery buying Warner Brothers and what that did. And the FTC is now having to look at it, and antitrust laws have to get stronger because of that. So that same kind of like legal recourse has to happen to stop AI from getting out of control. There's limits that have to be put in place.
You're right. It's not in the news specifically. There's been talk for a long time that was just, I say it was smoke, but now I'm starting to see flames where Iger is interested in selling Disney to Apple. And that was always like one of those things where it's like, there's no way that would happen. And now it's happening so frequently where I'm kind of like, all right, someone somewhere is saying something.
But to me, that's not even the important point. It's so important that the FTC was willing to bring in people who were involved in these mergers to get their reports and accounts to take into consideration. We've been too lenient.
Yeah. a couple of things that you talked about there reminded me of that Warner Bros. Discovery and Disney are paying lobbyists to look after specific AI legislation, AI-based legislation that could prevent them from a tax credit by replacing people's jobs.
Yes.
Specifically, I think it is.
Yes.
So like these companies are already trying to find these ways to make sure that they get what they want. As Spark said, these mergers, the FTC finally like looking at these mergers, because some of these mergers should never have been able to happen. What was the most recent? Disney and Fox. That should never have happened. Like that should never have happened.
I mean, like, depending who you talk to, like the Microsoft Activision one is probably the most questionable recent one, where everyone was like, that probably shouldn't have gone through, but it ended up doing it anyway.
I remember where I heard that news. It's later we'll talk about Penguin Random House. Not Penguin. We'll talk about Simon Schuster, but also Penguin Random House. Apparently, Penguin Random House tried to merge with a third major publisher. There's like 5 major big publishers. There used to be 6, but then Penguin and Random House merged.
Right.
So that was 5, and there was about to be 4, but the FTC got in and said no. You do not.
Penguin Monopoly House.
I do think in a general sense, I think the FTC is kind of recognizing that part of why our economy is so much in the struggling crapper is because there's too much monopolization and oligopolies that have gone on inside our nation. And that's certainly happening in the entertainment industry and other places. But it is encouraging that they are at least hearing accounts from people who have been affected by these mergers to hopefully prevent worse ones in the future.
Right. Let's move on a little bit. There's some kind of miscellaneous stuff that we'll talk about in regards to these strikes. And one that arguably isn't part of the strike, but I'm making it part of the strike because it is related. Seth MacFarlane donated $1 million to the Entertainment Community Fund. Obviously not asking our audience to do the same, but hey, please, that's down there in the description below if you want to support and donate.
If you are capable of giving anything without impeding upon yourself in a severe way, then please give what you can.
Yeah,
it's kind of like our Patreon.
But more important, let's be honest.
But more important, indeed. He is not the only person. Many celebrities have done the exact same, including, this is not the full list, there's a lot more, but including Meryl Streep, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Jennifer Lopez. There's people like Matt Damon and Sacha Baron Cohen, and they've all supported the fund by putting in $1 million each.
It's really heartwarming to some extent to see so many of these high-profile celebrities out there or actively talking about or doing these kinds of things and saying, like, we are fighting for the people who we know we either were or the people who we encounter in our day-to-day who we know, like, they dream of being in our position. We have the privilege to support them.
Bryan Cranston was like a working actor for like 20 years. Like, absolutely.
Stephen Amell was even down there.
I was gonna bring that up and like look at him and like, hey, respect.
when you still think you're right, but you're just tired of being punished about it.
Listen, I didn't read the full article because I didn't really care that much. But like, the little quote was like, some people talk to me and like they really showed me the points and blah blah blah. So I'm like, I hope you're not doing that just to save face and like you actually believe it.
Yeah. Hank, he was there. He showed up.
He showed up. That's something.
It was a great picture.
Mark Guggenheim set up a whole Arrow meetup crew thing.
True. It was really
that was pretty much in direct response of like kind of F that guy.
I wonder if he saw that and everybody was there and he's like,
got a little
about me.
That was a pretty
Jack Quaid. His for 100 days he's been on the strike every day.
Yeah.
What a guy.
Son of Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid, but you don't see either of them on the strike on the picket lines.
Nah, they're busy making westerns on Tyler Sheridan's ranch or something.
What's Dennis Quaid is in Stray Dogs.
The Struck movie?
Yeah, the Struck content. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't know that though. That's cool.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's always funny. Like, oh my god, there's someone with a sniper rifle off screen. Like, no, don't talk about a movie.
Yeah, we're like, we're trying not to.
I mean, it looks like shit.
The Stephen Amell thing in particular was very like. There were a few people who talked about like being on that show, like not like one-off appearances, like people who were like the villains for whole seasons. They were like, yeah, kind of that guy.
Kirk Acevedo. I don't remember who he played, but he was a really cool villain that I like, and he straight up was just like, yeah, F that guy.
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
oh wow, you're straight up just like you worked like for 2 seasons on that show with him. Okay.
There's the Capitan Love, the Reverse Flash. I forgot the actor's name again.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
like went off on Stephen Amell on Twitter. It was very funny.
He was like, look, I don't really know the man, but let me tell you what.
Yeah, I saw it too.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, that was fun. I really appreciated that. The memes that are going to come out of that picture, though, can't wait.
Oh, he's like, look, I'm here, baby.
Sonic the Hedgehog is going to start filming again.
Yes. We kind of
but-
talked about this before.
Well, they were filming before the actor strike.
Yeah.
And now they're just going to film the CGI inserts and the what was the other one? Inserts. You know, like the insert shots, and then the CGI heavy ones that don't require any people.
Right.
Which makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't you?
You can see a bunch of fun pictures of a bunch of standees.
But more importantly, is Knuckles okay? Is he all right?
The Knuckles show.
Where are we on that show?
That show probably can't film because Knuckles is the only CGI character that we know of.
I'm sure Sonic and Tails are somewhere. They
Or-
might not be in every episode.
I'm sure there's a bad guy protagonist of some capacity. I think.
I know it's unlikely and is not announced, but I hope Jim Carrey comes back.
Yeah, me too.
I have faith. I think he knows how special that role is.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's talk about some Disney news for a minute. And this is coincidentally, can you give us some more money? Because the strikes aren't hurting us, but more money, please. Disney Plus and Hulu will both raise their prices quite significantly. This is the second time in less than 12 months. The last time was in December when Disney Plus went up from $7.99 to $10.99.
Damn.
It will go to $13.99. Now, this is both their ad-free tiers. So their ad tiers will remain at $7.99, and their ad-free tiers will go up.
Okay. That's not as bad, but it has doubled its price in a year, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's not so bad. Hulu's ad-free tier will go up to $17.99 a month.
Oh, wow. Damn. That's all. Is any of is HBO Max? Excuse me. Is Max $17.99?
No, HBO Max. You're right.
Which one? How much is that one? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure it's still been holding at 15, which is what.
Damn.
To be fair,
That's good though.
that's what it was
yeah.
before the Discovery and Everything merger and all
yeah.
that, and before HBO Max was created, when it was just like the HBO thing you got on the side. It
Yes.
was always $15.
No, HBO. That is fine. I was simply saying, oh, Hulu's more than HBO now. No way, dude.
Yeah,
Not worth it.
I will say, like, small insider baseball. Our house is on the bundle,
Mhm.
Hulu, Disney, and ESPN together, without ads. And from everything I could find so far, no announced change for that.
That's good.
So if you're in the bundle,
Okay.
you're clear. Like, no price increase on the bundle at this time.
Okay.
It seems to be for the individual services.
Yeah.
What is so interesting about this $17.99 is it's frankly not worth it. I think Hulu. So I just found out they took off a movie called Rosaline, which is a movie I really wanted to see with Caitlin Dever.
Sure.
$18 for Hulu, and I get that it's ad-free Hulu. Still, like, I don't.
That's too much.
That's too much money at that point. Hulu doesn't have the library for me to justify $18.99.
Even with
$17.99.
good movies, they have like Prey, but like even with good movies, like you are competing with again HBO and Netflix, and like being more than all of those, I'm like, man, that's just crazy.
Here's the thing. If I'm being completely devil's advocate,
Do it.
I don't think that it's an insane price for Hulu.
Okay.
And part of that comes from that I do think, like, when you consider that they have FX and everything
that's
FX creates,
true.
they have the Bear.
It's Always Sunny has 16 seasons.
All of that Fox catalog, all that kind of stuff that they are lumping in. It's not an insane price, plus Hulu originals, etc. I would say that if they weren't removing things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the removing things that makes me kind of like, this is a weird time to be asking for people to give you more money when you keep pulling stuff they want to watch. If
Right.
that had not happened, I'd kind of go, yeah, fair. Like if all of these things, like if Motherland Fort Salem were still there,
Yeah.
right? Like I'd be like, no, I get, I get it. But it's the fact that like we no longer have the confidence that the things that we are willing to pay that extra money for will stick around long enough for us to watch it. That is kind of where it's like, I don't know.
It's true.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to say. Like, yeah, Prey's on there, and I love Prey, but for how long? I like to think, but like Disney took off a bunch of Disney Plus originals. You're asking recently, not that long ago, and you're asking me for more money. Like, part of me is like, how dare you?
Yeah.
I don't trust you. Why would I give you more money?
Yeah, it is rough.
And to be honest, like, I kind of hope it bites them in the butt.
Me too.
Like, I think it should. If people feel like they've lost too much to want to justify this increased cost, no, more power to you. You're probably right. I think you should.
Yeah.
Like, again, as I said before, I'm currently unaffected, but like, I get it, and I fully support that decision.
They're also going to.
It's a baffling move. It's a baffling move with the PR they've had this year.
They're also going to start looking into anti-password sharing practices, like Netflix recently did. So screw you. The reason why I'm bringing all this up is because this is clearly happening because they've lost subscribers. What was it? 1.8 million subscribers from Max alone, between Max and Discovery Plus were lost because of the strikes.
Nice.
Disney Plus, Hulu, same thing. Like people are unsubscribing, or they're not getting the money from the catalog they should be getting from. Like this is a bad time for the streaming services specifically, and you're asking for more money.
I do have to point out that a big chunk of that number that is still being reported is we talked about a little earlier this year, is that the Disney Plus Hulu numbers internationally, they lost one of their partnerships with one of the Indian distributors.
Right.
And that was a big subscriber base. So a fair chunk, not all, but a fair chunk of the number comes from India unsubscribing.
It is.
And just for clarification,
Yeah.
that happened, that big number, we heard that in the first quarter this year. And now, like, there is a larger number being talked about, which are additional subscribers that have been lost since then. But it is just, I think, important to acknowledge the context. Like, that still happened earlier this year and was part of the context for the loss of this number of subscribers. It's big, but like,
yeah,
that's there.
I would like to find out. I would like to know what excuse Zaslav will make for the 1.8 million subscribers he lost in Max and Discovery Plus. What license did you lose, sir?
Yeah, but he made 100 million, so it balances out.
There's no effing way. But yes, because of these strikes, like these people are going to try and ask for more money because they're not making back the money they were promised. So,
oops, sorry,
you're excused. On that note, why don't we move on to some comic book news?
I would love to move on. Hot Labor Summer continues. In full support of everybody who deserves to get exactly what they're owed, because certainly the executives have too much money.
True that.
Indeed. Make sure to check out the links in the description below for where you can find those strikes. And please read that IGN article. Very good. I support the VFX workers. I support all unions striking.
I know.
Let's do it.
I know. I love AI.
Here's Contrarian Ryan.
What up, baby?
Oh my God, he's a Skrull.
Oh no!
Oh no, Brandon froze.
Did he freeze on our end too?
Or did we?
Or did we freeze on his
we the
end?
frozen?
Who's frozen in this frozen pie?
Frozen too.
Oh, I wonder what the next topic's going to be. It's comic book related, that's for sure.
Yeah. Frozen 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Oh man, what do you think the news could be about?
Let me check my handy dandy little doc here.
Man, I love comic books.
I kind of
sure wish we had
kind of love if
tell me about these comic books.
Kind of love if like he's doing it too.
Yeah.
And so we just have two separate streams we have to put together of like, well, I guess I'll just talk about the news.
Oh nope, he's gone. Hey guys, welcome to the Fake Nerd Podcast. Grayson says Brandon's frozen on his end, so
All right, gang, we're gonna just roll on in, and we'll bring Brandon back in a moment. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom: Black Manta.
Wait a minute. That's the movie.
That is the movie.
That
This
movie
is written.
should have been out.
This is written by Joey Esposito, with art by Ray Anthony Height.
Yeah.
And it's going to follow Black Manta in events that lead into the upcoming film. Now, the same thing happened with Black Adam.
Yep.
They put out a comic story that took place before the movie. I think we were all just kind of like about it, so we didn't really engage with it. But how do you feel about this, Ryan, them doing a comic that's about the story?
Personally, I think it's cool. I don't really care. But I do care about the creative team because Ray Anthony Height, incredibly awesome artist. Joey Esposito is a dude that I really like. And he is not a big name guy. He used to be the editor at IGN Comics. He was the comics editor at IGN, and I listen to him weekly on the IGN Comics podcast. And that dude is really cool and really funny and really insightful. He's written a bunch of independent comics. He wrote an independent comic about Bigfoot as a private detective. It's really fun and really cool. And he has been slowly working his way up into the big leagues. And he's been writing some behind the scenes Batman stuff. And he's writing like a big Aquaman book. It's Italian. That's incredible. I love seeing people thrive in comic books. Again, I don't particularly care about a movie tie-in comic, but I think this is really cool that this gets to exist.
I think so too. Like, the thing is, like, if you've got a good creative team and if they really have the free, like a more free reign, which from what I've heard, like the Black Adam comic, they really got to like kind of just shape those characters into a story that they wanted to.
Yeah.
And I've been curious to read it. I'm actually kind of motivated to read this because you're hyping up that creative team.
Yeah.
And I've wanted this for the MCU. Like,
Yes,
I want
absolutely.
comics that will tell stories about these characters between films, because I'm like, there's frankly just not enough.
tried
and
it.
like when you have comics,
Barely.
they barely tried it. They tried to tell like 10-page stories that mostly recap the movies, and then had like one or two panels or pages of new content that isn't relevant.
Yeah.
These, from what I understand, at least like with the Black Adam one for sure, like it was a full story that didn't show you anything from the movie. It was just telling you a story about a character as they're heading into the events of the film. And I'm way into that. I think like when you have the comic medium right there and these films are popular, I want them to do more like this. I think this is cool. So I hope it's good. I wish Marvel would get on board with this. I would like to see this be something, frankly, that James Gunn was willing to do in the future, because he said that he's like cool with like a lot of the cross-pollination across all the mediums that they have. I love the idea of like, tell me a little bit more about these characters that you don't have time to do with the actors on screen.
That's a great point, especially with James Gunn and how like he wants like them to be live action and animated and stuff. Like, I can totally see having like a whole subsection of this is the movie universe, and you just get comics every so often,
right?
And I so wish Marvel would do
and
that.
Like comics that you're committed to, like, no, we're really telling some story stuff here. So if you want to get like a full scope on someone, and especially like when you're not like, we have to tell an Aquaman adventure here. No, we're going to tell you about what Black Manta was up to between the movies. Like, okay, cool. I kind of do want to hear that.
He is one of my favorite characters from the movie.
Tell me how he got from A to B.
Yeah,
I'm down.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll get Brandon's thoughts on that later. Stranger Things: The Voyage is written by Michael Morisi. Hey, from Wasted Space.
Friend of the show.
With art by Todor Ristov. We'll follow the story of how the Russians got the Demogorgon to Russia. Man, I really like Michael Morisi. I could not care less about that synopsis.
I am sure this comic will be totally fine. I do not need to know that story. I like that last season totally fine enough. That aspect of the show of the Russian stuff wasn't my total favorite.
Inspired by the last voyage of the Demeter. That's also in here.
Okay.
All right, Morisi.
Oh, okay.
All right, Morisi.
Okay, hold on. If it's literally just like a Russian ship with a Demogorgon on it, that's a fun one shot.
Yeah.
That is a fun read, but yeah, like
we know Morisi's got the talent.
Absolutely.
So okay.
Sure.
You might get me.
You sold me with that last part.
Yeah, you had to read.
I'm hearing hot things about that movie that we can't talk about.
All right, man. Why don't you tell me about Spider-Man Reign 2? Written and with art by Kari Andrews.
Yeah.
Who created the first series.
Have you read Spider-Man Reign?
No.
But do you know why it's famous?
Yes.
So, friends at home, if you haven't read Spider-Man Reign, it is like Elseworlds, kind of like one shot, one story. About Spider-Man dealing with some marital woes with Mary Jane and villains. But like why it's famous is because Mary Jane dies from cancer that she got from Spider-Man's radioactive spider semen. Because every time they had sex, a little bit of radioactive positivity went into her and it eventually killed her. And that's why that story is famous. I don't know if it's good anymore. I read it 15 years ago.
So
It's infamous.
I'll tell you, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that like when I was like, oh, I should go back and read some like Spider-Man comics I've never read before. I've heard the name Rain a lot, and I was talking to other people, and they were like, don't read that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I hear about it a lot. It's like, yeah, but it's not for a good reason.
Kari Andrews is a really interesting talent. He has a very unique art style. And I always appreciate when he's on a book, especially when he gets to write and draw a book. He did an Iron Fist book a couple years ago. That was a 12-issue like maxi series. That was really good. So like if they're going in the vein of, hey, let's do another ridiculous Spider-Man story, I am kind of interested. Like, what do you do like 15, 20 years later? But like,
my favorite thing about it, to be honest with you, has just been like seeing some Twitter accounts like light up going like, they're bringing back the Cum story. Like, oh,
yep. And that,
oh no.
Yeah, that's luckily he's written and drawn a lot more, but like he could have been known as the guy who's like the Spider-Man Cum story.
Sure. Hey,
welcome back. We're talking about Spider-Man.
My captain is back.
Oh my god, that was an ordeal.
Hey, internet stuff happens, man. We're glad to have you back. Let's just real quick get your thoughts on we've talked about the first 3 in comics, so why don't you just run on down and give your thoughts on them?
The only one I want to say is Stranger Things: The Voyage sounds awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, once we hit the last voyage of the Demeter, we were like, oh, okay, Maurice, okay. My point, real quick, just like on the Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, because I think you kind of echo it, is like I do want to encourage the idea of being willing to tell comic stories about not necessarily the main character, but a lot of the characters on the side angles of the films in comic form. Like, I want room for that. I hope it's something that carries over into Gunn's lineage.
Yeah. Spider-Man 2, by the way, Kari Andrews?
Kari Andrews.
Yeah. I didn't know it was a girl.
I didn't know that either. They are?
That's
cool.
That was the pronouns the Marvel solicits. They said.
That's awesome. That's cool. I like her.
Are you excited for the return of the Cum story, Brandon?
I never read the Cum story.
Neither have I. I just want to know if you're excited about it.
All right.
It's so interesting. Like the last thing on that, like, there's a lot of stories that you can return to. I'm just why are they really just like, yeah, let's do that one again? I'm like, I guess, sure, I guess.
Yeah. Why don't you keep going, Sparks? I'm sure you're doing really well.
Sure. So we got Sentry, which is written by Jason Liu and art by Luigi Zagaria. It's a 4-issue miniseries that will see ordinary people manifest Sentry's powers and experience snippets of his memories. One of them will become the new Sentry.
This is super cool. I am very
because the Sentry was killed in King in Black and not brought back since then, correct?
I don't know.
He was killed before King in Black. He was killed before King in Black. The King in Black was a second death.
Oh, okay. Well, but I mean, like that was the most recent kill.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that was most recent. Well,
He was brought back from life and he died again.
Well, they happened so frequently because it was the Doctor Strange. It was the end of the Death of Doctor Strange story and King of Black happened at the same time, both of which featured the Sentry death.
Okay,
it was weird. By the way, Kari Andrews, I just read Marvel had mislabeled them in their press release, so it is actually he.
Unless they transition, like I know that dude's a dude, so like I didn't want to press against it. What is this one we're talking about?
So Sentry.
Yes, I love the Sentry.
Ordinary people manifesting his powers, experience snippet of his memories, and one of them is going to be the new Sentry.
Yeah, so Sentry is a Bendis guy. He was really, really heavily used in the Bendis era. That's why I really like him. He's kind of controversial because like his whole thing is like he is the most powerful superhero on the planet, but like every time he does something good, there's an evil dark void like that does something to counteract his goodness. And like that's just the way it's written can be really silly or really, really good depending on who's writing it. If it's not Bendis. The Sentry's a really hard character to have around because like he is like omnipotently powerful, basically. Like not like Dr. Manhattan, but like he is 10 times Superman. Who also has a dark void inside of him. So like, what do you do with that character? He's almost impossible to really write a regular story. So to change what you're doing with the Sentry, totally cool. Totally love it.
I really like the idea of these ordinary people who have lived in the Marvel universe, like all of a sudden, like for a moment, getting snippets of this very powerful person's powers.
Right. Reminds me of like Deku and All Might.
Yes, but like flashing with their memories as well. And like, obviously there's going to be some people who do some good with it. There's probably going to be some people who do some bad with it.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested to see how that shakes out.
That's the hook of this, is that there are good and bad sides of the Century now. I'm really interested in this. I read the last Century miniseries. I think it was Jeff Lemire. Which I really liked that. And obviously we read I believe Dark Avengers for a book club once. I really like that too. So yeah, I'm really interested in this.
I am too.
Yeah. It's a cool idea, and I appreciate that it's a 4-issue miniseries. So I feel like I can jump in, enjoy it, and be done.
Yeah.
I'll take over now, Sparks.
Oh sure, why not? On one of my favorite things, but go for it.
Oh no, you're right. The next one should be you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur Wreck and Roll, which is written by Stephanie Williams with art by Asia Simone. It's an original graphic novel that's based on the show that will see Moon Girl and Devil go up against a rad skating band of thieves. Y'all, if you check out Animation Station, you've heard us, Ryan and myself, talk about how great at least the first half of that season is. That show is incredible. I'm so thrilled that they're willing to do more comic stories in the vein of that show.
Absolutely.
With the art style, with all that, because I love it. I love it to death.
And Stephanie Williams is a great writer. And I haven't seen what the art style looks like, but I assume
it looks like the show.
Then beautiful. Love it. Couldn't be
I echo what you guys said. I got into the show after you guys did the Animation Stations, but it's great, and I'm actually really interested and excited about this book because more of that. I really love the show. I can't say anything because it's Struck Company, but still, it's a great show.
Great. Eventually, at some point in the future, you'll see an Animation Station talking about the rest of that season, hopefully with Brandon along with us as well, because we love that show.
Wait, do I have it? No, I don't. I was gonna get a laser pointer and point it at me like a sniper rifle.
Oh, gotcha.
All right, I'll take over now.
Go for it.
Because a new Thanos title is coming, a 4-issue miniseries written by Christopher Cantwell with art by Luca Pizzari. You should see the Phil Noto cover.
Ryan
on it.
You just said like it's Cantwell and Noto. Those are my peeps.
Cantwell's incredible. Cantwell can't miss.
It's true.
This is basically Thanos versus the Illuminati. The Illuminati have recently reformed. They have stolen something from Thanos, and he is on a rampage to get it back. This new Illuminati will feature Mr. Fantastic, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Emma Frost, and Blue Marvel.
I love it.
So they're getting rid of Xavier. That's not that one. There it is. That's the Phil Noto one.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Emma Frost, my girl. Well, her and Tony Stark are now boos, so it makes sense that they would team up. But she's a good replacement for Professor X on the Illuminati. That's so cool. Illuminati's back. Thanos is back. They stole from Thanos. That's spicy. That's too spicy. I'm ready for that. I love it. This is an incredible team.
Sounds like a great book club in our near future is what it sounds like, my friends.
Oh my god.
It does indeed. You guys like Image Comics?
Yeah. I have a whole wall of them.
Well, Image Comics is the third big comic book publisher to split from Diamond. Image Comics has signed an exclusive deal with Simon & Schuster, which will distribute their graphic novels and comic books to the direct market, namely comic book stores, as well as the places like Barnes & Noble and bookstores and places like that.
Sure.
They've never handled single issues, but I assume because they have a robust magazine department, they'll probably just use that. Just ship them to. But this is now the third. This is the third biggest publisher. All three of the biggest publishers in comics are not signed with Diamond anymore. Image, Warner Bros., Image, DC, and Marvel are all going to different publishers. I believe DC is with Lunar, Marvel is with Penguin Random House, and now Image is with Simon & Schuster. And then Diamond has Boom and Dark Horse and IDW still.
For now.
Let
me tell you, Boom's probably getting ready to leave.
Boom would probably be next. IDW and Dark Horse are probably sticking around for a while.
Yeah, it's really funny just how quickly, again, a couple years ago, Diamond was the monopoly, and now the top three biggest comic book publishers do not supply for them anymore.
It's almost like Diamond was consistently shitting the bed with how they handled the comics for these companies.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic happened, and then they did it worse.
Oh, yeah.
it's almost like the consequences of their actions.
Yeah, Diamond is basically a monopoly when it comes to the comic book industry, so breaking it up is not a bad idea at all.
No, down with
and
Diamond. I know a lot of comic book shop owners who feel that way.
Oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, this is just a fourth distribution chain to go from, and now it's not necessarily competition in the market because it's not like DC is signed with both, as signed with two or three, but it is the first step into breaking up that Diamond monopoly. That's really good.
Yeah, I love it. Good for
Speaking
Image. Good for
spe-
everyone.
Yeah, speaking of Simon and Schuster, so real quickly on Image, on the last month's previews, I went through it. And it's a previous catalog, by the way, for those of you who don't know, is the catalog that you get at a comic book store and tells you what comics are coming up in the next 2 months.
Right.
And I was flipping through it, and I flipped through it like I do it all the time. And there was a single page for Image Comics that said, check out the solicits online. And then there was just a list of what's coming, and it just had like Transformers 1, and it was just a list. There was no pictures, no solicitations, just a list. And I thought that was so weird. And then this news dropped, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot more sense now.
It was in the works, yeah.
Yeah. They weren't even paying for any pages in the Diamond catalog anymore. You know how, I don't know if you guys have seen the previous catalog, but the previous catalog used to like has all these like really nice pages for like the big publishers. Dark Horse and IDW no longer pay for the nice pages. They're in the back of the book.
Hell yeah.
I think that's just kind of funny.
Yeah.
Simon and Schuster, by the way, has been acquired by the KKR Group. They were originally owned by Paramount Global. This will do something to their Star Trek line, which is something people are a little concerned about.
I want to be clear, you gave 2 Ks in that, not 3.
I
KKR?
was thinking that
Group?
too.
It is KKR, not 3.
Noted.
They got,
All right,
listen,
they're okay.
They got real close.
KKR, which I just now realized I forgot to look up what it means, what it stands for. Go for it. They have bought it from Paramount Global for $1.62 billion. Paramount decided to sell it because what was the quote I have here? Quote, it's not core to their company anymore. So I guess book publishing is not, they're just not interested in book publishing anymore, Paramount.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. So KKR, I forgot the term for it. I should have written it down, but I forgot the term for it. But KKR is basically bought Simon and Schuster in order to. So normally, what a company like KKR would do it would buy the company to resell it at a higher value. They would kind of like buy it, fix it, resell it for a higher value. Simon & Schuster is not a company that is hurting. In fact, this past year they had record profits.
Oh, it's backwards. It's Kohlberg, Kravis, Roberts.
Oh,
it's just like a lawyer thing. It's just their names.
Yeah.
The Krusty Krab real estate agency.
There you go. That's it. And so like what they would do is normally they would buy the struggling company and then sell it for a higher value. That's their only purpose, is to sell a company for a higher value. Now Paramount Global has sold it, but they have sold a company that was doing well. So everyone's kind of questioning, like, okay, well, what are you going to do with it? Because they even said like, we're not going to fire anyone, and they're going to sell it in the future for more money. And this was weird. This was weird, especially with the Image thing came out, pairing these two up. It was just weird.
Sure.
But whatever. What billionaires and corporations want to do with their money? What do we care? Unless you're not paying people.
Yeah, right.
Unless you're not paying people. Quick video game news. That's all the comic book news. But there's quick video game news in the sense that Destiny, the video game, as we know, Lance Reddick passed away. He played a very beloved character in that game.
Zavala.
What's the name?
Zavala.
Because it's a live service game, they recast the character with Keith David.
Keith David, legendary actor, in more video games than you could ever imagine. That dude is always working, nonstop working.
Yeah, great voice actor. I love Keith David.
He is like if you have to step in the shoes of Lance Reddick, Keith David's an excellent choice.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if Lance Reddick finished recording his lines for the Chroma Conclave and Vox Machina.
I don't know.
I'm curious about that. All right, but let's get into some trailers. Oh, interesting. Actually, I should have done this in reverse because there's more video game trailers. Let's do the anime
Well, you
trailer
could just
first.
start with that one then. You know, you don't have to keep
Let's do the anime trailer first.
Okay.
Kaiju number 8.
I love vibe trailers.
Hey, we all read that.
Yep.
The first volume. I'm still caught up on it.
Mhm.
It's banger manga. How you guys feel about this trailer?
I think it looks, again, this is like a vibesy one, but like I read that first volume and like, man, it looks really nice. It looks like a high production ass anime.
I really like the animation. I think it's really strong. I especially like the brief glimpse we get into his monstrous form as Kaiju number 8. I think that looks great. I think it looks a little bit more gruesome than the manga did, and I feel like it's chasing the Chainsaw Man anime.
Oh, sure.
For that vibe. And I wish it wouldn't, because Chainsaw Man can be its own thing that it looks like that. Kaiju number 8 doesn't need to look like that. So I'm curious how it's going to feel, because it just feels a little bit more gross violent than I feel like it came across in the manga. I think it's a little lighter, honestly, in tone than what they seem to be selling in this trailer.
This is not me pushing back on you at all, I swear. Like I just, my memory on it is vague enough where I don't remember how ultraviolet or not it was. But like I could see where you're making that point of like they want another Chainsaw Man like thing, so let's put a little more violence in here. So like I didn't have a problem with it, but I also like didn't think about like the source material. So like they could be doing that, yeah.
For comparison, like there's humor in Chainsaw Man. That humor is very much like it's very like character appropriate and like well-timed jokes and cheeky and sarcastic and witty. And Kaiju number 8 is very like our guy who is Kaiju number 8 is a little bit of a goofy.
Yeah.
And that keeps a lot of the tone a little lighter.
I just turned to this page where he's chasing after his friend after turning into a monster.
Right. Like it's got that vibe, you know, the very like, wait, come back, you could try. And like I'm not getting that from this, and it does feel like to me this trailer feels like it's trying to chase Chainsaw Man. And for anyone not familiar, I think with the manga, like that is not what the manga has been. So I'm hoping that the anime still has that light tone, knows how to play it.
Word, I got you.
Yeah. I think this trailer looks really interesting. I really like the look of it. It's from Production IG, which did I believe the show's called Furikuri.
Yes.
I love Furikuri.
And Ghost of the Shell. So they're doing another anime. I think this looks really cool. I think Sparks is right about what he said. But we read the book club for a book club, and I really like that book, and I want to read more of it. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Highly encouraged. I think it's a good time. It's been solid all the way up to where
what's the app do you use? Because I used to use your old app, and you don't use that app anymore. So it's
Manga Plus.
Manga Plus.
Manga Plus.
I'll probably download that. Anyway, looks exciting.
For anyone, this is because this is true for all listeners. Manga Plus is an app where you can read manga as it is. It's translated over for you from Japan, like comes out the same day and everything. So the translations can be a little rough sometimes, but like they're pretty good. They're pretty good translators for it. The whole thing of it is you get to read each chapter of a manga once for free. So you can read it, and then if you want to go back, then you gotta pay.
I like it. I like that model. It's a good model.
Let's talk about Dead by Daylight, because they dropped the Xenomorph trailer.
Oh yeah,
they
baby.
did.
Not only did they drop the Xenomorph trailer, but because I'm Mr. Video Games, it's already in the what do they call it? It's like the behind the scenes test arena where people could play stuff early to test stuff out. Beta, thank you, beta. Yes, they have basically like a live beta server where you could test stuff early. A lot of games do this. But I've seen a couple of matches of how the alien works. You go underground and there's tunnels and like and all the things light up and you can see all the people and their footsteps leave little traces. So it's basically like the Demigorgon if you ever play the Demigorgon, but you're just doing everything on the ground. Looks very cool. Ripley is part of it too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely saw 4 Ripleys get murdered. That was
Them really walking the line of like, well, we definitely didn't get Sigourney Weaver to sign off for this, so we're making it look kind of Ripley-esque. The
Yes.
idea of Ripley.
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely. This isn't a Nick Cage situation happening here. But the map is really cool. It's like a mix of outdoor and indoor. There's like a spaceship that's crash land onto it. It looks like a really cool update. Dead by Daylight, they've always gone hard on crossover stuff, but like specifically like the next phase, from all the rumors, like it's the hardest they've ever gone, like with the Nick Cage stuff, with the alien stuff. We're gonna get a lot more people. Like apparently Jason might be coming now that the right stuff has gotten fixed with other people. So like that game is continuing to be incredible with all of its horror icons.
I'm mostly excited for the new map. I thought the map that we get a glimpse of in this trailer looked really, really interesting, really unique to Dead by Daylight. And obviously, the Xenomorph seems like a really fun monster to play with.
He's the first alien, or the first killer to be on all fours. So in his normal mode, he's walking, and then you hit the power button, and you get faster, and you get a run ability.
Ooh.
So you actually have like him running at you.
You know what that means?
Yeah.
We are just a little ways away from an American Werewolf.
Oh my God! Yes, absolutely.
All right. Then we got we got a bit of a teaser for the game Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin, based off the comic of the same name.
The most teaseries of teasers.
Yeah, it's an interesting teaser though. I quite liked the mood that it did with the 4 candles going out with the different ways they died. I thought that was really cool.
The 3 candles, because
Yeah.
the 1
candles, right
left.
You guys know who it
You
is?
see the deaths.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't. I haven't.
No, I'm not going to spoil it, but like it is. It's probably who you think it is. But I haven't read it yet. I will. I'll be honest, y'all. I'm excited for the idea of this game. The company making it, and this is not disrespect to the company. This is the people making this are the people who remade the Destroy All Humans games, those Alien games. So this they said they are going to make a God of War 2018 inspired game, but it's that studio. So like, I have faith that it'll be a fun game. I do. They're saying they're making a God of War type game, and I just don't see people who remade those types of games making a game of that caliber. So like, I'm hoping for the best, but I'm kind of thinking something smaller scale, like that Hellboy Web of Weird game, something more that scale, as opposed to we're making a God of War Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. Because I don't see them. They don't have that budget. They don't have unlimited 5 years to make that type of game. So like, I hope everyone puts their expectations a little lower with how much they're hyping themselves up with this game. So like, I'm excited for it, but like, I'm not expecting like a 10 out of 10.
Sure.
If I'm being honest, but it's too early.
I'm excited to see the next look at it.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 1: The Banished trailer.
You guys go before I wax poetic.
This
Man,
looks
just give me the
really
game.
cool.
I'm very like behind the scenes, like at the time of recording, we are real close to finally hitting in on Mortal Kombat 11, so we can get that out and get ready for this one. And I'm so stoked because this looks just incredible. Like what a wonderful thing for them to feel like they can just take risks isn't the right word, but take so much liberties with changing what Mortal Kombat can be. And just like first off, the visuals, obviously, like we've talked about this before, but like really truly seeing a PS5 Mortal Kombat is exceptional.
Oh yeah.
But the liberties that they keep giving, I'm glad they've been dosing out these trailers. Like, there's so much story here, y'all. There's so much that we're doing.
A week.
Yeah, there's so much story that we're doing here. You're really gonna have a great time. Like, we've really thought about a lot of different angles and a lot of different characters for how they work into this series, and it's thrilling. It really feels like I don't want to say like Mortal Kombat's back, because that's not it, but it feels like Mortal Kombat has like new juice in it.
Before I get into my opinions, I just want to bounce off that. The community is the most hype I've ever seen. Like, not when 9 got rebooted, it was a really, really hype, and then 10 came out. 10 was really good, but it wasn't like the greatest thing ever. 11 is really damn good. And then this one, because it got played at Evo, people have played a lot of it. They've now seen a lot of the story. Like this feels like this is like, oh my god, like they're making like their masterpiece. And they're rebooting it so they can do everything from the get go, basically. Mr. Brandon, how do you feel about seeing Sizoth and Ashura?
Well, I really like now, mind you, my knowledge of Mortal Kombat is very limited.
Yeah.
But Reptile, what they're doing with Reptile is super interesting to
They made him
me.
hot.
They made him hot, which is already a interesting decision. But I love I love the idea that he's like banished from his tribe because he can turn into a human. Like he can disguise himself as a human, but in his true, he can only go between that and his true form and invisibility. And I really like his lizard form too. There's a shot that floored me in this trailer, and it's his fatality at the end of the trailer when he turns invisible and bites the girl in the head, and then you can see it through. You can see it through his
Yes.
skin.
Yeah.
Oh man, so good.
The again, like it just looks so incredible on the PS5, but like these particle transfers between his reptilian form and his human form mid fight.
It's instant, yeah.
Oh, dude, it looks incredible.
Yeah. And one of my favorite characters, and Ed Boon, creator of Mortal Kombat, he tweeted this in all caps: "The 3D era fighters return," because Ashura and Havoc, who's the third character reveal in this game, they are from the bad era of Mortal Kombat when they were transitioning to 3D on the N64 and the PS1 era, right? So those games aren't the best, but those characters are really cool, but they're kind of forgotten because they were in the bad games, right? Havoc is one of my favorite characters. That dude is from the Chaos realm. He's literally all about chaos. He's a dude where he punches you, his body turns in a circle, but his head stays in place. His like he can take his body parts. He's like arm fall off boy from Suicide Squad.
Oh,
He
that's
can
the
use
guy
his
who's
arm.
been like
Yeah,
ripping his
he can
arm off
rip
and then
his arm
slapping
off.
people.
Absolutely. One of his X-ray moves is he punches you so much that his hands break apart and it's just his bones left, and then he stabs you in the head with his bones. It is just like ridiculous. And again, Havoc's not a character you ever need to see again, but they're like, no, let's bring Havoc back. Let's bring that weirdo back. Ashura is like a really weird demon lady. Again, like these characters, like nobody cares about, but they're like, let's make people care about these characters. Like in actual like storytelling reasons. And y'all, the biggest thing that they have not actually announced, and I won't totally spoil it for you, but this campaign is unlike any of the campaigns we've ever played before. There are so much more adventure aspects to it than any of us even realize. And I'm so excited because like we've played the last games, right? We know how those go. That's not the type of game we're gonna play for one. It is like an adventure game almost. I'm so excited for this game. The gameplay looks sick. Visually, it looks sick. All the combat, what's it called, the cameo characters look incredible. I'm so excited, and we're almost here. We're almost all here together. I love it.
Someone posted a video. This wasn't in the trailer, but someone posted a video of one of the robots' fatalities from the old games coming back and doing like the big chompers and crushing you in them.
I would
Very
totally,
cool.
I can definitely see that coming back. Like, you know, this game loves to be silly. The last one, I think it's 11. But Liu Kang has one where like he literally brings an arcade cabinet from the heavens to drop and splat you down. So
That's
like
cool.
they'll be as silly as they want. Looks so good. I'm so excited. And again, like Homelander, Peacemaker, all these dummies. Like it's gonna be so fun.
I can't wait to play it. All right, that's the show. I'm actually a little
Real
surprised.
quick,
Yeah.
every trailer, every one of these Mortal Kombat trailers has had the dopest music that's not actually in the game, but they're really awesome, dope electronic music. They're always like, they go with the punches and the beat, and every time the trailer ends, it's like a big punch, it's in your blood. And I'm like, ah! It's in my blood.
All right, that's the show.
That's the show.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back probably another 2 weeks. Might be back next week if something crazy happens, but most likely in another 2 weeks. So
we can hope for the best, but like I'm not believing.
Considering our recording schedule we have planned in this next week, probably not.
Oh, that's actually very true.
But expect some exciting stuff on the horizon. We're working hard behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this: if the writer's strike ends, we'll probably do something.
Yeah.
But barring that, probably not.
Yeah.
Let's see you guys. So we'll see you guys in another 2 weeks. Once again, that's just a schedule until the strikes are over. Due to basically what we can and can't talk about. It's a way to kind of ease us, make this a little easier on us. But once the strikes are over, back to weekly. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Bombard the AMPTP at their mall office. Tell them to make a deal, make a fair deal.
Go to the Sherman Oaks Galleria and say, "I demand my FNP."
Get some fried chicken, orange chicken from PF Chang's. Go over to the AMPT office, throw it at them.
But guys, just because this show will be off doesn't mean that there aren't other shows. Many of our shows are impacted because of the strike. We're withholding many of our shows, such as Victor's Watch, others. So you can check out those shows, what's impacted on the website. On our website, victorpodcast.com, you can check out the links for all of our shows and what is impacted by the strike. Grayson
Hey,
in the comments,
if it's a movie, it's not happening.
or a
If
TV
it's a
show.
TV show,
It's not happening.
it's not happening.
Grayson in the comments, thanks so much for the show. Whenever you guys want to do it, I appreciate the hang time. Take care of yourselves in the coming days. Good luck on any projects. Thank you, sir.
You too, bud.
Always appreciate the support. But there are shows that aren't impacted for the strike, such as Conversation. Conversation is my solo show where I talk to other podcasters about fandom. Please check out the latest episode, Travis Bow from the Real Comic Heroes podcast. That is linked below. Basement Arcade. Guys, check out some Basement Arcade episodes for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. There's the 2 episodes out now.
And this coming week, look for finally the end of Mortal Kombat X.
Wow.
Mortal Kombat 10 will finally have its last episode
That
out.
game came out a decade ago.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's really funny. But that's exciting though. Of course, we've got other Basement Arcades that are banked, so stay tuned for some pretty exciting games.
Game Bank.
And of course, you can check out Pickner Book Club, which is coming back in a big way. Pickner Book Club, the latest episode, Ultimate Comics, The Ultimates, Volume 1. The Republic is Burning. It's our first episode of the new bi-weekly schedule. We'll be coming back with another episode soon. We're coming back to Wasted Space. I'm coming back to do Star Trek stuff. There's going to be a lot of Pickner Book Club out there for you guys.
Woo-woo!
Not only that, soon we'll start releasing the archive episodes, the good ones, from all our previous years as their own individual
A book
things as
club?
well. Mhm.
A hot dog.
Pulled out of the main show.
Look at
I love it.
That'll start next month.
I love it.
All right, very excited. Check that out. Guys, Animation Station is impacted by the strike, but there are ways around that, such as talking about foreign projects. So Ben and I have started talking about Digimon Adventure Try, which will be Animation Stations that you guys can check out
Lovely.
soon. Yeah, excited for that. But that's it. That's kind of everything. So make sure to check our website pretty frequently, ficknerpodcast.com, linked below. As well as everything I've mentioned before, including our Patreon and our TeePublic. If you'd like to support us financially, you can do that. Those are linked on our website and below, ficknerpodcast.com. Once again, all right, guys. Thank you to everyone who listens. Thank you to everyone who watches the live show, and thank you to everyone who watches the rewind. We greatly appreciate all of your support. Thank you to Jeremy Vellucci. Jeremy Vellucci is the co-host of The Real Score, and of course did all of our music you heard here tonight, as well as all of our music for all of the shows that we do on this network. You can find him at Jeremy Vellucci _Wreck of Time. You can find his podcast, Suburban Proctologist, on Suburban Proctologist Official on Facebook, or Subproc Podcast on Instagram, or of course on iTunes. Just subscribe to it on iTunes. Thank you to Mike Matola. Mike Matola, wonderful human being as he is, even if you like the show. That you can find him at Mike Matola on Instagram and TikTok. Of course, you can. He's collaborated with us on many things, designed some of our logos. So check him out. Wonderful man.
We love Mike.
Yeah. You can find us also on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Fake Nerd Podcast, fakenerdguys@gmail.com. If you'd like to get in touch with us personally, I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. You can also find me writing for CBR.com, AtomicGeekdom.com, and KaijuRamenMedia.com, where you can check out my latest article linked below. Sparks, where can people find you?
You can find me getting over here at Sparks Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty.
And Ryan?
Oh my gosh, you can find me feeling toasty at DJ Tony Snark only, because I was able to get DJ Tony Snark back on all of my socials.
Oh.
So on Instagram, but don't follow me there because it's not personal. But on Twitter, I'm not going to call it X. And now on Blue Sky, where there's 7 whole people on there. So I can't wait for more people to eventually be able to join the website.
Of course, you could also find Ben on Twitter, Instagram at BenMagnet27, as well as playing Mary Frankenstein on D and Dark, out every Wednesdays. All right, guys. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Yeah, subscribe to us on... Sorry, I just changed this. Subscribe to us on your podcatcher of choice. Subscribe to us. Like this video. Subscribe to this channel. Until next time, you see us, guys.
Grayson said that Larry Talbot in DVD would be very exciting. I agree. That's the implication from what he said. I give you, what if we get Kevin Bacon's Hollow Man?
Ooh.
20-something years later? Hell yeah.
Why not the Invisible Man just in general?
No, Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon's Hollow Man, because that's sinister and scary.
Okay, but like think about like the Invisible Man. You guys can leave now. The audience can leave now. What about the Invisible Man? But it's the one from the Blumhouse movie, and so you can like hear the clicking of the cameras.
Oh,
They need both.
Oh, you need modern and old. Yeah, that's tough.
All right. Anyway, rate and review. Subscribe to us on the podcatcher of choice. Rate and review wherever you get us. Like this video. Subscribe to this channel. Until next time you see us, guys. Stay fake nerds.
We're just like Kevin Bacon.